Bonjour everyone, dear Lalita speaking. Today we are discussing attention to what is most important in your life. Am I a spirit soul? Our consciousness allows us to contemplate life. We have intelligence. The animal kingdom does not allow for such a consciousness. But as human beings, we are able to think philosophically. Attention is an incredibly powerful force. So we should pay attention to the world around us. We can use attention to experience trivial things, or we can deduct truths from our environment and our life experience. For example, every time the sun sets, we can understand that one more day of our life is gone. That is philosophical thinking. Or, if we take a walk in a garden, by example, we can deduct that everything which has a growth cycle must have a soul. Because what force makes it grow? Then grows old, and then when that force leaves the body, dies. Even the flower has such a cycle. It grows, buds, opens up, shrivels, and dies. A flower possesses the same force than a human being or an animal. Yes, you can experience anything with your senses. But what your eyes experience and ears experience is not one and the same. Your most conscious experience would actually be your soul. And with the soul experience, you may understand who you really are. You'll have to use the correct sense to see or hear. By example, you cannot see with your ears or hear with your eyes. But in fact, experiencing the soul is different from experiencing your senses. Experiencing the soul is such a high experience. You will have to soar up. When you contemplate a beautiful sight with your eyes, you feel a pleasing sensation that may be expressed with words. You feel it. Similarly, when the soul finds a link to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also called Bhagavan, it experiences a sense of relief, fulfillment, and remembers its spiritual origins. The conscious soul is like an observer. It will awaken from a long sleep once its spiritual origins are awakened. Unfortunately, right now, the soul is not fully awake all the time. It is like asleep on the lap of Maya or illusion. However, once Bhakti Yoga or the practice of devotional service starts, the soul will wake up to the fact that it does not belong to this world and it has nothing to do with the mind, the body, or the false ego. Thanks to the soul, it is possible for you to interact through the body and the mind. Without the presence of the soul, the body is just a lump of matter. So if you pay attention to this soul within you, you will desire to wake it up, to feed it with spiritual knowledge and activities. You will have to go find your soul through devotion. And then this soul of yours will draw a sort of ecstatic experience through devotional activities. You have to go deeper to find reality. It is within us. It is not foreign to us. The soul is a vital part of the living entity. Everything else, the body, mind, intelligence, are all external tools. The soul inhabits the body and directs it. When the soul goes, everything else becomes useless. If you eliminate both physical and mental encasement, you can find your own self. And there, you will find the key, the clue to the proper world that is worth living for. The solution is there. Hints about this are more or less given by many great personages in every religion. But our claim is that in India, the Bhagavad-Gita and the Bhagavatam, which are ancient Vedic scriptures, that literature has given the fullest conception of the spiritual world. The Bhagavad-Gita and the Bhagavatam. To pay attention means that you will become practical thinkers. We do not belong to this faction of thinkers who just take the easy way out and claim that it cannot be solved. And then they shove the problem under the carpet. So many people, as a result, never question what we are doing on this planet. Why were we born? And why do we have to die? They gave up on the answers and just live a life of enjoyment in order to forget everything. Or live a life of quiet desperation, as Henry David Thoreau describes. We forget the questions we pose as children. Because a child has a simple mind. Everything is new to him. And because as a child we could not answer those questions, we pretend all those questions were coming from our childish minds. But the Vaishnavas or practitioners or Bhakti Yoga are calling to us. Come, and you will see whether the plane of reality can be found or not. Take to our program and try it. As human beings, we should ask, where do I come from? Who am I? What is the real nature of the world? Is this all a deception? We should be asking these questions in earnest. In the Quran, in the Bible, in the Vedas, in any other language of scripture, you find a hope and a hint about a life of reality. Is all this a fraud? Are we told some lies? A path is being suggested. A path that tells us you have to try it that way. And this path is not unreasonable. It is not madness. We can find some wisdom there. Actually, there is no book more knowledgeable than the Bhagavad-Gita. It gives so much information about the soul and our forgotten relationship with Bhagavan or God that no other book can compete with it. No other sacred text competes with it. One must pay attention to the world around oneself. And that could be the beginning of one's consciousness. Or one could be searching deeper and after several layers finds one soul. It takes practice, but one can succeed there. Unfortunately, the system we live in these days makes sure that we do not even have time to perform such contemplation. We are so conditioned to be consumers, workers, and media watchers. Who has time to contemplate who we really are? Perhaps only those who have become tired of their material existence. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami says, quote, "It is easy to see that at present we are members of this mortal world. By what are we connected? It is our body that is a member. If we can go above the body, we can go to the mind, and then on to the intelligence, then to the soul. We shall find that the plane where the souls live is eternal, and the soul himself is also eternal. From there we can go on to search after the super soul. the origin of all our thoughts. The Supersoul is likened to the sun. That is the origin of all rays of light. These rays or particles of light are the individual souls to which we belong. Once we find a ray of light, we can approach the sun from which all rays emanate. Similarly, from the conception of our own selves, knowing ourselves to be particles of consciousness, we can search out a plane of super consciousness, super knowledge, and super existence. In this way, we can progress to the ultimate cause, the source from which everything flows. We cannot go just according to our own whim and minute freedom. Some sort of help and guidance from that plane is indispensably necessary. Such help comes in the form of Guru, the Vaishnavas, and other agents of that land. With their help, we can make honest progress towards the goal. At present, we are like monarchs of all we survey. But what we survey is all transient, mortal, and reactionary. What is pleasing today will later turn into pain. Therefore, we must seek a good position somewhere else, a good place to build our home elsewhere. In the course of that search, we shall find that we do have our own home, and it is all perfect. End of quote by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. The mind can be elusive, even though it is a finer part of our present condition. We do not always pay attention. We ignore so many details. We go through life a bit unconsciously. By example, some friends may be waving at us from across the street, but deep in thought we have not seen them. We heard it is going to rain, but we forget our umbrella. We read a message on the computer, but only remember a phrase which interested us and miss the important information its message carries. The mind is constantly accepting and rejecting. I like this, I do not like that. And the intelligence is even finer and higher than the mind. It is the intelligence which will discriminate between choices and make sure we keep body and soul together, so to speak. It possesses the faculty of judgment. It sorts through facts and eliminates what is not useful. The intelligence forms the world of our experience. It produces the voice of reason. Each layer of awareness is subtler and subtler. So finally, one can become aware of one's false ego. What is false ego? The false ego is the last frontier before finding the soul. The false ego is an identity which marks you as a personality, such as a man or a woman, a character type, a race, and we identify with it. We say, I am male, I am female, I am American, Canadian, Indian. That is a false ego. Actually, we are none of these things. We cannot be confused and think that the material standards apply to the spiritual plane. It is very difficult to separate our conception of who we think we are from who we really are. Yes, perhaps we can understand and hope we are not this body. The body doesn't last and grows old. A child is charming. An old man is mostly unattractive physically. We get used to it. But that person is smelly or sickly or slow with watering eyes, their youthful appearance replaced by a melting mask. Well, actually, when you think about it, the child carries the old man in him. The child is the source of the old man. He will become that old man one day. But to understand that we are not this mind either, or this intelligence, or this ego, is mostly very difficult or impossible unless you start practicing Bhakti Yoga or self-realization. So you have to try to take things step by step. Because the soul is inconceivable with our material earthly tools. It is above all these things, and we have to accommodate that truth is truth, even if it is beyond our present understanding. We have to have faith to begin with the axiom, yes, there is something better than this limited life. Even if we are blind, we could take shelter of the one person who has vision. It is the same thing for our spiritual self. When we are sick, we look for a good doctor, and we respect his diagnostic and follow his recommendation. In our case, we certainly have counteracted a material disease, and by seeking help from an enlightened person, we will be cured. That is not an unreasonable proposition. If we insist on remaining in ignorance, then we will be forced to realize that whatever we have acquired is not a fixed certainty. It will vanish one way or another. And then we have to work hard to again acquire it. Not only that, but we have to suffer the consequences of our actions, and that will give us pain. In this way, if we pay attention to what is going on in our life, we will see that there cannot be a real peace in this modern life. We may go for a camping trip, by example, to get away from our worries. We could find consolation in nature, but it is temporary. Again, we have to go back to our work, our family, our routine. Where is the peace in this? Here is a quote from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. When God consciousness becomes intense, those who experience it will see all other activities, however apparently important, to have no value. Why? Because ultimately we want to live. We don't want to die. To live is a main necessity and the general necessity of us. No one can deny that one wants to live, and not only live, but live happily, properly, and consciously. Furthermore, we want to avoid all affliction, misery, and so on. When God consciousness arises within someone, we can see clearly. Why is everyone engaged in a wild goose chase in this material world? Everyone wants happiness, but all are running after an imaginary phantasmagoria. Happiness can never be with temporary mortal things. We are making a transaction with the mortal world, but we cannot bring satisfaction to ourselves. It can only waste our energy. What we collect on one side disappears on another. A wise person should neither accept nor tolerate this waste of energy as a main principle of life. Such a wise person can see another plane of life. He can see that he is not a party to this mortal world, which is like a place for playing games. He will feel, I am immortal. I am a member of the eternal world, but I have somehow become entangled in this mortal aspect of existence. So as soon as I can shake off this connection, I shall then stand in a normal position. He will find that he himself, the soul, the feeler, the conceiver, is a member of another soil. But he has become entangled within this mortal pain-producing world. This is a miserable world. With the strength of his realization, he can make improvement in his progress to the immortal plane. When we pay heed to the devotees, the great sages, with their help, we are raised to a particularly high standard of faith. We are in a safe position when we turn our attention towards the devotee. They are like so many pillars, standing and proving the Supreme Lord's presence. Summarily neglecting the enjoyable object of this world, the devotees stand with their heads erect, proving and declaring their experience of the Supreme Entity. End of quote by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So if we become aware of our precarious position in this world, resist the urge to become workaholics, the system is encouraging this. If we do not spend our free time like zombies in front of a screen, if we want to wake up from that matrix, so to speak, we need to pay attention to not just our immediate needs of the body and mind, who can never satisfy us, but rather we need to feed the soul and evolve into wise human beings. We need to stop and think and observe the world for what is most important. And what is more important than escaping this world of birth and death? You tell me. You think about this when you find yourself near death or gravely ill. If you paid attention before, if you pay attention now, this experience, if it comes in your life, won't be bewildering and painful. Rather, you will know who you are and where you're going. That is a great advantage. So again, pay attention to what is most important. Do not get distracted by a painful material life. Use your free time to elevate your consciousness and understand the power of the soul. You're not alone. You're never alone. The super soul or super consciousness is always watching over you. Just make sure that your life will bring you closer to him. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you have enjoyed seeing our take on this topic. If you like my video and would like to see more topics in this vein about the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, please give me a thumb up, and if you are not subscribed, I would love for you to do so. I want to thank my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his god brother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and my Shiksha Guru, Swami Narasingha. Et now, au revoir et à bientôt.